So I was talking to someone on Instagram today and we got onto the topic of what would I do if I had to make a Darth Revan TV show. Before I get into this, I am actually very against the idea of Revan being adapted into anything, whether it be animation or live action. In my opinion, Revan and the other Old Republic characters should just be relegated to the games and comics and nothing more. But if I had to make a Revan TV show, what would I do? Okay, well, first thing out of the gate, I would not cast Keanu Reeves as the character. This is a fan cast that, in my opinion, has gotten way out of hand and has become one of the most over-bloated fan casts of all time. Don't get me wrong, I love Keanu Reeves, I think he's amazing. But as an actor, I think he's a bit nah. I think he's very wooden in a lot of the things he's in, and he's way too old to play Revan at this point. Revan's 38 at the time of the Mandalorian Wars. Keanu Reeves is 60. Also as well, I just don't think he could convey the presence of Revan. Revan is a charismatic, strategic military leader. Keanu just wouldn't bring that, in my opinion. Which is why, instead of the overrated fan cast, I would instead cast Ben Barnes, who you've either seen in Netflix's Shadow and Bone or the Punisher TV show. And the Punisher TV show is the reason he's my pick. Ben Barnes has the charisma to be Revan, and also the ability to go from being charismatic and lovable to huge arsehole. That is the person they should cast as Revan. He's also closer to the age that Revan actually should be, which helps, and he looks the part just as much, if not more, than Keanu does. So what would this show actually be like? Well, it would be nothing like the other Disney Plus shows that exist at the moment. Preferably, I would want each season to be about 15 episodes long, each at an hour, with a huge focus on practical effects and less of a focus on the volume. I'm not knocking the volume, although I kind of am. I actually quite like it, and I think its use in The Batman was absolutely incredible. But the problem is Disney overuses it, and you can tell when they use it. Just look at The Mandalorian Season 3 and Kenobi. Okay, so how would I do each season? Season 1 would focus on Revan's origins, starting as him as a Padawan and quickly rising through the ranks of the Jedi Order. We would then see the start of the Mandalorian Wars, with Season 1 ending with Revan finding the Trace Academy on Malachor 5, and also drafting up plans for the Mass Shadow Generator to use at the Battle of Malachor 5, as well as alluding to the fact that he's starting/has already fallen to the dark side. Season 2 would focus on Revan as a Dark Jedi winning the Mandalorian War, and would then also focus on him going to meet Vitiate for the first time, which would mean he would get sent back to the Republic as a Sith to invade and destroy it. Season 2 would mainly focus on Revan as a Sith Lord. Season 3, Part 1 would be the end of Revan's Sith reign and also the start of Knights of the Old Republic 1, probably ending around the time that the Revan twist happens within the game. However, because we obviously already know that Revan is, well, Revan, I would actually add something a bit different. Instead of having this as a twist where it's revealed that the main man is actually Revan, it would instead act as a way to build tension for the audience, with there constantly being hints dropped towards Revan as a character which slightly make him start to remember who he is, trying to make the audience fear of what would happen if he remembers who he is. Season 3, Part 2 would be the rest of Knights of the Old Republic 1, ending with the death of Darth Malak. Season 4 would then be the first half of the Revan novel. However, when Mitra Surik gets introduced, cut season there. Before we get to the final season of the Revan TV show, we get Mitra Surik's spin-off, which would be an adaptation of Knights of the Old Republic 2, with her backstory already having been covered in the earlier seasons of the Revan TV show. We can then have a lot of the final season of the Revan show focus on Mitra trying to find Revan, and after that, think how the Revan novel went, but with a completely different ending. Rather than Mitra and Revan being betrayed by Scourge, and with Revan being captured by Vitiate for 300 years, they would actually win the fight and kill Vitiate. We would avoid everything in the MMO. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually like Revan's story in the MMO, but for adapting Revan's story to TV, this doesn't work at all. Revan would actually get the happy ending in my adaptation, and it would end there, no more. He goes back to Bastila and raises his son with her. This is just like a quick thing that I thought up about 10 minutes ago, and I thought it would be cool to share. I think people choose the safe route when talking about adapting this character, and I know some people would rather that they go down the route of telling the story of the MMO as well, but in order to do that, you would also have to make another massive show just about the MMO, so that Revan's story can be finished off as a side quest. It doesn't really work. As for tone, I would actually want this to be quite a serious show, especially if we're going to have spin-offs that involve adapting Knights of the Old Republic 2 to some extent. Ideally, I'd want it to be less goofy like the Book of Boba Fett and more serious like Andor. with time actually being devoted to develop characters and having side characters actually matter without hindering the protagonist. Another thing that I would refuse to do, which I'm afraid Disney will do if they ever put Revan in anything, I would not make Revan a straight up villain. In fact, I would make him an anti-hero, because in my opinion, that's sort of what he is. So yeah, that's my quick thoughts on what I would do if Disney, for some reason, if they said, look, you have to adapt Revan's life, you have full creative control, whatever budget, just do it. This is probably how I would do it.